Hi there, I'm Tina. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm talking about balance. I have 8 yoga poses to work on that will help you gain a better relationship with your body and the space around you. Working on balance, of course, is never bad. It can help us prevent falls. Of course, no one wants to fall. That can really hijack your life. Working on balance, these 8 yoga poses can increase our confidence, increase strength and mobility, and also we can work on those fine-tuning stability muscles that we really don't pay that much attention to. So, 8 yoga poses today working on balance. Let's get to it. The first pose we have is mountain pose. Mountain pose is a very basic pose, but we can use it to work on our balance by adding one element. So, of course, mountain pose is standing with your feet firmly grounded into the mat and your tailbone tucked, your belly in. Arms are down to the side, or in this case, you can place them at heart center in Anjali Mudra. Now, to make mountain pose a balancing pose, what we're going to do is on an inhale, we'll come up onto the tiptoes very slowly and mindfully, up, up, up as far as you can go. Inhaling. Exhale, slowly come down. Inhale up on the toes. Holding, balancing. Exhale, slowly placing those heels back down to the mat. One more. Up to those tippy toes, pulling those ankles toward one another, and down. That is working on our balance in mountain pose. Pose number 2. Standing with the knee up and focusing. So, shifting your weight to one foot, bringing one knee up as high as you can go. Now you can start very low. You can start with one toe basically on the mat as a little kickstand here if this is working on your balance. And from there you can take it incrementally wherever you'd like. You can take your knee up as high as you like for your balance. Finding a focus point, somewhere to look, somewhere to focus on that is not moving. You can stay here working on balance and just breathing. You can grab that knee and pull it in up as high as you can, flexing that foot and balancing, feeling that nice connection with the standing foot to the mat. Growing tall in the spine, pulling those elbows, or not the elbows, the shoulders down away from the ears and the crown of the head up toward the ceiling. Lifted knee, balancing there. You take that to the other side. Again, you can just stay right here with your toe as a kickstand, playing with, lifting it off the mat just a little. From there, bringing your knee up to the level you're comfortable with. Holding that knee up. If you'd like, you can grab a hold of that knee and pull that knee up and in, growing tall in the spine again, crown of the head up to the top of the ceiling. Breathing here. Wobbling is good for you. Remember, that is working your fine stability muscles. Standing, knee up. Now from here, the third balance pose I have for you is a standing twist. That is, again, lifting the knee up, grabbing a hold with the opposite hand, the outside of that knee, lifted knee, and beginning to twist, reaching the other arm back to the back of the mat, gazing, focusing down, breathing here, taking that to wherever you'd like. Pose number 3, standing twist. We'll take that to the other side. Other knee up. Grabbing a hold of the outside of that knee with the opposite arm and reaching that back arm back to the back of the room, twisting that torso, striving to bring your torso to the long edge of your mat. Woo! You can see I'm working in balance, and I know this is really good for me. Whoa! One side's always better than the other. Totally normal. And smile. Make sure you're having fun while you're doing this. And release. There we are. So we have mountain pose on tiptoes. We have knee up and standing twist. The next pose, the fourth pose, is tree pose. Tree pose is a standing balance pose with several stopping points. Hands can be at prayer center, shifting your weight to one foot, bringing the opposite heel up. You can use that toe for a kickstand, placing that heel on the inside of that ankle, keeping those toes on the mat. This is our first modification for tree pose, balancing here. Just playing with this balance, breathing here, becoming aware of where your body is shaking, where your body is steady, hugging the belly in. From here, you can bring your foot up to the inner calf, rotating that lifted knee outward toward the back of the mat, keeping the hip points forward. And breathing here, the next foot position is, of course, up to the thigh, above the knee, anywhere above the knee. Pressing that foot into the thigh into the foot. And again, rotating that knee outward, growing long in the spine, growing tall, shoulders down away from the ears, crown of the head up to the ceiling. Breathing here, so good for you. Tree pose. Now, to increase the balance challenge even more, arms up to the ceiling, or the ultimate challenge is gaze up to the ceiling. I'm not sure I can do that, but if you want to give that a try, go ahead. Gaze up to the ceiling and release. Tree pose. That is pose number 4. The next pose would be chair pose. Chair pose is a balance pose as well, if we add the element of tiptoes. So for instance, for chair pose, belly is in, tailbone is down, and we're going to shift our weight back into our heels, hinge forward at the hips as though we're sitting in a chair. You can bring your hands to prayer center. Spine is long. Now check your weight here. Can you lean back into your heels? See how far you can lean back into your heels and work on balance that way. Or we can go the opposite way by coming forward and up onto the tiptoes. On an inhale. Lift, toes up, hips back, and bring it down. You can work on tippy toes or back on the heels. Chair pose. Okay, the last standing balance pose I have is, of course, Warrior 3. Warrior 3, if you've joined me for some other videos, you know this is a nemesis of mine, but all the more reason to value it and work on it. And I know it's really good for me, and I know that I can modify if I need. Warrior 3. For Warrior 3, we'll go ahead and stand in mountain pose with hands at prayer center. From here, we'll shift our weight to one foot and begin to hinge forward. Now, the first thing you can do to start working on Warrior 3 is you're keeping your belly hugged in, tail down, long spine here, and reach that lifted leg back, placing those toes on the mat as a little kickstand. You can work here. You can see I'm still even wobbling here. Or you could go even further by lifting the toes up to whatever height works for you. Now you could also have a chair, hold on to a chair, hold on to the wall, face a wall, hold on to the wall, forward, toes on the mat or up, striving for torso and lifted leg parallel to the mat. For an added challenge, arms reach forward and release. Warrior three. Now take that wherever you feel it benefits you. Remember, any balance work you do is beneficial, even if it's not reaching the full extent of the pose. Okay, so that's it for our standing balance poses. I have two balance poses for you that are on the mat. So the first one, we're coming down to our tabletop position. Tabletop position, our wrists are under our shoulders, knees are under our hips. Neutral tabletop. Now for the balance portion of this, reach one foot back, elongate that, place the toes on the mat. Now, you can work here. If this is new to you, this is a great place to be. Just lifting that back foot as much as works for you. If you're comfortable, bring that back foot parallel to the mat, pressing up through the arms, and then the opposite arm forward. Lifted arm, lifted leg, parallel to the mat, or just lifted leg, or just lifted arm. Whatever works for you. Balancing tabletop. Try that on the other side. Leg is long, toes are resting on the mat. You can work here on balance, pulling that belly in for stability, lifting that leg if that feels good to you. And then if you want to go further, arm up and parallel to the mat. One long line of energy from fingertips to toes. Balancing table. And release. I have one more, our eighth pose for balance, and that is balancing thread the needle. So for balancing thread the needle, we'll come to our tabletop position and we'll bring one, so your tabletop position, wrists under the shoulders, knees under the hips, and we're going to go ahead and bring one arm under the other, placing that shoulder and ear to the mat. Now in this position, mindful that your hips are still under your knee or over your knees. Elongating that upper arm, reaching out, coming up onto the fingertips, working here, or elongating the leg that's on the same side as your elongated arm, tiptoes on the mat, or lifting that leg up and balancing here. This is a great balance pose. The thing I like about this pose is even if you fall, you wobble, you most likely won't be hurt. You may just have to catch yourself. So there we go, balancing tabletop. And we can take that to the other side. So opposite, in this case it's my left shoulder to the mat, ear to the mat, right arm long and extended up onto the fingertips, right leg long, working here with your toes on the mat for balance, Or if you'd like to go further, you can begin playing with lifting that leg, even just a little bit. It doesn't have to go all the way up, because the minute that your toes are not on the mat, the challenge starts. So you can take that to wherever you like, lifting that leg all the way up if you'd like, and breathing and concentrating here. Balancing thread the needle and bring it in and rise up. And there you have it. 8 balance poses to work on. You can add those all together. You can take one pose and work on that every day. It's totally, of course, up to you. But whatever you do, however small, it is beneficial. So, thanks for joining me today for this balance pose tutorial. See you next time.